So it is September, and that means we've got a whole bunch of creators to cover for this month. And when I say a whole bunch, I mean a lot. I've got probably my biggest list yet. So grab yourself a drink, maybe go to bed, and yeah, let's crack on with this video. As always, I'll have everything timestamped below as well. So if you want to check out any individual part, then just jump to that bit as well. And let me know any suggestions you've got in the future for ones that potentially I've missed off on this, because there's so many creators out there now. So first up, let's kick off with fantasy. And we've got a Rescale Miniatures, and I've got Stormcast as the note here. And these look really, really cool. So if you are currently into Stormcast and all of that new stuff for Age of Sigmar, these will fit really, really nicely. They look quite similar. So first up, we've got like their winged ones, the Prosecutors, and I really like these. They're a lovely mix. You've got some with these like splayed wings, which look a little bit weird, but then you've got the more traditional like angelic type wings. And I guess unlike the Prosecutors that have like these magical wings, these look more like natural type wings, if that's possible. You've then got obviously like this normal like I guess like cavalry. So you've got these like beasts, the almost like griff chargers, but these are more like reptilian. They're really, really cool. And then there is a big old dragon. I'm sure here it is. Big old dragon. So they've got this big like commander unit on this dragon. And the thing that I really like about this dragon is it's a big beastie dragon. I do like the Stormcast. I think they're the drakes that they call them on that one, but they're a little bit more slender. This one, they do have a slender one, but they've always got this big, like, muscular, beastie, don't mess with kind of dragon. It looks absolutely awesome. And amongst all of that, there's loads of infantry as well to go with it. So this has a lot. So that's Rescale Miniatures, basically Stormcast proxies, realistically. They'll have their own name and all of that, but these look fantastic. So next up, we've got Arc Villain Games and Grotesque Circus. Now, some of these I listed today and some of these I listed a couple of days ago, so I've forgotten what these ones were. So let's, here we go. Yep, perfect. So this is basically a big old overview, and I still don't know why, actually. I keep putting Arc Villain Games in fantasy when it probably should go in D&D, but it kind of fits with both of them. But these look really, really fun. There's so much going on with this. And the thing I like about these is they're all really nicely posed and just a little bit weird. Like there's this big old, I don't know, it's like a clown jester tentacle squid creature. Really grotesque and weird. And then this big old like beholder type thing with all these big old tentacles coming out of it, and like these horrible jester heads and clowns and everything. Now, a little bit that not many people know about me, I'm terrified of clowns. So this is really just horrific. You've got this like puppeteer squid clown creature with this like little puppet man, and you just think, oh, it's horrible. And this winged demon. There is so much in this pack that I think you could make something really horrific. And maybe I just think this is more horrific because I'm terrified of clowns and stuff. But I could just imagine having some kind of like circus tent or place, and then all these grotesque creatures, and having a really fun adventure in that, or just having them as part of like your chaotic army and stuff. There's some really nice horrible things that fit like the novels for Warhammer and everything. These kind of remind me of that, like in Beckwin novel, we've got those horrible puppets. I think these would fit quite nicely for that. So that's Arc Villain Games and their Grotesque Circus. Next up, I've got Parasite Collectibles, and it's an orc on a dragon. Now, this, I think, will be hit or miss for some people. I do like it, but then part of me looks and thinks it's not quite as nice as the Games Workshop one. It is nice, and this isn't a dragon, I just keep calling it a dragon, but I don't know, there's comparisons to be made there. It looks really, really good. It's a lovely looking sculpt. You've got this big old beastie, I'm going to call it a dragon again and get shouted at in the comments, but this big old beast that the orc is riding on. The orc looks fantastic as well. But then I think this one, for my tastes, veers just a little bit too close to the Games Workshop sculpt. And I don't think it's quite as good. But if you've got a 3D printer and you're not wanting to obviously go and pay the astronomical Games Workshop price, then it's a nice to have as well. And there are differences there as well. It's not quite the same. It looks fantastic. It looks really, really nice. And again, some people will like it, some people won't because it veers too close, but I think it's nice. I also like the fact that you can have the orc on foot as well. So that way, if you don't want to have him riding on the big old beastie, you've got that ability there. And on his own, that orc looks really, really nice. It's a bit of a cross between like Warhammer orcs and World of Warcraft orcs. I really like the look of that. So that's Parasite Collectibles. And next up, we've got Highlands Miniatures Elves. And Highlands Miniatures, you need to stop making new armies because it tempts me so much. These look amazing. Basically, they are Old Hammer High Elves, and they look fantastic. They look almost identical to those old sets that I used to have as a kid. I used to have some of the High Elves stuff. I never really got around to painting too many of them. I think I did like a regiment of the Spearmen. And these look so much. They're doing so much for my nostalgia valves. They're doing so much for my nostalgia. Let's just leave it at that. They look amazing. So you've got your archers, you've got your spearmen, you've got your cavalry. You've also got some more of your artillery type units as well. They look amazing. They're basically a modernized version of the old Hammer stuff as well. Absolutely fantastic. Really, really excited to see what Highlands Miniatures continues to do with this set. Wasn't massively a fan of their Tomb King stuff, but that's only because I don't like Tomb Kings. They were really, really good sculpts, but they weren't my kind of thing. These I'm really tempted to do. And there's a lot in this kind of whole month overview, which I guess there always is, that I'm tempted to do. So that's Highlands Miniatures with their High Elves. Next up, we've got Vevictus Gravediggers. And these look just funky. I like some of the stuff that Vevictus have been doing. I've now got some of their like rat folk, and I've printed them off, and they're beautiful sculpts. They came off really, really cleanly. I've not painted them yet. I'll be doing a video on that coming up in the future. But they've got this month's set, which, let's pop it up here, is basically these Gravediggers. And I quite like the idea of this, of having, I mean, they'd fit with multiple armies, really, because you could have them with the undead and they'd be more like their thralls and familiars and everything else. Or you could have them with like an Empire-style army as well, or like all the peasants, or Bretonia and have them as peasants as well. Some really fun ones. They either come pre-built, so that way you can just print them off and then not have to assemble them, or they come modular as well, so that way if you want to mix them up and basically just go for infinite stuff. I really like their little individual units as well. So you've got this like lady gladiator here who looks really, really good. This headless woman holding like a butcher's knife, which is just bizarre. And then you've got these other like gladiators as well, which look fantastic. And then you've got the lady just leaning forward, you know, letting it all hang out, which a bit bizarre, but that's also there if you're into painting that sort of thing. So that's Vevictus and some Gravediggers. Next up, got Beholder's Miniatures with some more Dwarves and Slaanesh. Now, I realise, I don't know if I'm actually getting their name right, because, I mean, it says the Beholder Miniatures at the top, but then I'm assuming their set is One Sin for Seven Kingdoms. Who knows? But anyway, I digress. Moving across, so yes, we've got that. So Beholder's Miniatures, and they've got a whole bunch of stuff. So you've got all the Dwarven type stuff, and then you've got like their more Slaanesh type units as well. If you've watched this kind of recap video each month, you know that I really like their stuff because they make these really well, in my opinion, for 3D printers, because they've got big, thick weapons. They've not got loads of dangly bits they're going to snap off, but they look fantastic as well. So first up, you've got this big old, I don't know, almost like a Bloodthirster Demon Prince type unit here, which looks absolutely incredible. Then you've got all of your Dwarven sculpts, and then thrown in there with it as well, you've got all like your Slaanesh, like Slaves of Darkness type stuff, and these look absolutely fantastic. So we've got like this, I don't know, female leader here, and she's got the ball and chain. And again, that chain, the thing that I really like about it is it's a thick chain, so like sometimes when they go to ultra realistic, they've got these really thin chains and everything, and they just snap, and it's really frustrating. I really, really like these. And even though they're all big, thick, I guess cartoony proportions, they don't look out of place. I still think they'd work really, really well if you're putting them off to go with like Old World or Age of Sigmar or other games as well. So that's Beholder Miniatures. And next up, we've got Avatars of War. And they've got orcs. Basically, you've got like Orc Shaman and Nurgle type stuff. So let's pop that up first. Now, the Orc Shaman on the Wyvern looks really, really good. If you have the Old Hammer Orc Shaman, it's basically that on a Wyvern, and it's a really, really lovely sculpt. I really like Avatars of War because they are very much those old, not even like the, I guess we're going to call it mid-hammer. I can't remember. The ones that I've got in my collection, Before that, they're like the old Hammer style stuff, and they look really, really fantastic. Again, a bit of an acquired taste, and it's whether or not you're into that, but I like them. And then you've got all like your Nurgle Plague Demons and stuff. And again, these look fantastic. If I was going to do a Plague Army, I'd probably pick these up because there's so many bits there and they look really, really good. So Demons of Pestilence, Orc Shaman, absolutely awesome. And that's Avatars of War. Next up, we have a White Angel miniatures. It's the first time they've been on this channel, and they've got loads and loads of stuff. Again, kind of similar to, I don't know, almost a mix between like Avatars of War and Highlands miniatures, in the fact that they've got that older style, but updated to have some of the newer looks and everything to it as well. So a bit of an old Hammer vibe, really like it, and you get loads of stuff. Here we go. So the overview, you've got your standard dwarves with these. You've also got all of your elves as well, and they look fantastic. And then you've got Chaos Dwarves as well. You don't see too many Chaos Dwarves out there. So a whole bunch of stuff with this. Like, you get a lot, which sometimes can be a really good thing, sometimes can be a bad thing, because then you get analysis paralysis, as you know, you don't know what you want to print and all of that. These are lovely looking sculpts. There's a lot to like here. To be honest, a hell of a value, really. So that is White Angels miniatures. And if you're into Old World or Age of Sigmar, then it's worthwhile checking out. Next up, we've got DeVale Games, and I've put Lord of the Rings themed humans. Let's pop that up. Here we go. Yeah, so with this one, again, you're getting all of your standard infantry, also getting some cavalry with it. I feel like this has a very, very Lord of the Rings theme going on. So again, not going to fit for everybody, but I really like them. They look really, really nice. Lovely sculpts and everything there as well. So if you are, I guess, into Lord of the Rings tabletop and you want some extra bits and some proxies to go with some of your units, definitely worthwhile taking a look at. So that's DeVale Games. And then we've got Last Sword miniatures, and we've got Undead and Vikings for these. Now these ones really, really took my fancy when I saw them. So they've got, let's see if we've got an overview. So with this set, you're getting loads and loads of stuff. So there are all the undead first to kind of like unpick. So you've got this undead commander on this big old like undead dragon. Looks really, really nice. They're a little bit, I don't know, cartoony. They're like the Warhammer, old Hammer Warhammer undead units that have been updated and tweaked to make them look nicer, but given a bit more of a cartoony vibe. But I do really like it. You've got this one, which I can't remember the unit that it used to be, but again, it was one of the old Warhammer ones where he's like part winged and then got hand on the other side. But the difference is here, like he's got this awful, horrific mouth, looks like from Blade 2, where the mouth kind of parts open and stuff. And then the feet are horrific. They're like hand feet that are slightly clawed. I don't know why, that's really horrendous. Then you've got this like Wraith Lady as well, Corpse Carriage, and then all these like, I don't know, zombie ghouls. And then you've got all these like Viking units to go with it as well, which I think are fantastic. And they look really, really nice. So you've got like Vikings with axes, spears and shields, and then like a command unit, and then a flock of sheep randomly. So I really like it. There's a real mix of stuff there, but they look fantastic. And I'm really, really digging their art style for these. So that is Last Sword Miniatures. And the last one that I have for fantasy is Signum Games, and I've put Mythical Gladiators. Now this one I've never seen before, this creator, so I have no experience with them. But I just really, really liked the look of their September set. It's weird, and I can't think of what you would use it for. I guess maybe you could make a warband from it. You could maybe make some kind of like Ogre Moor tribe proxies. They'd be a little bit different styling, but you could do something with them, or I don't know, use them for D&D if you wanted to. I really, really like them. They're all these like fantasy creatures, but in gladiator garb. So you've got like these trolls, for example, with again like gladiator garb and these really nice looking fancy weapons. So normally you have like trolls and they have rocks or they have clubs, but these have all this like gladiator armor on there. You've got this unit riding this rhino, and again with all this like gladiator type armor. And then you've got like the normal humans as well. This centaur here, and I've got to say the centaur looks really, really nice. Again with that gladiator helmet on, the centaur, all the armor's kind of made specifically for it. It's really random. Like I say, it'd probably be hard to figure out what you're going to use it for, but lovely sculpts, really, really lovely sculpts, and just a different, unique spin on things as well. So that is fantasy, and now we are moving on to sci-fi. So we'll kick sci-fi off with Station Forge, and they've got loads of stuff. So when I did this list originally, they pretty much just had all their like sci-fi orcs. And like over the past, I don't know, 5 days, they've just gone absolutely crazy. So we'll go from latest backwards. So you've got these incredible looking corrupted like guardsmen. And these look incredible. I love these. These are some of my favorite things by Station Forge. I really like Station Forge, so that's really saying something. These look absolutely incredible. They're just different to anything else that I've seen, and maybe they already exist out there, and again, it's just a proxy for something else, but these, I think, look amazing. Really nice sculpts, lovely weapons. I love all the armor, I love all the garb, I love everything that's here for them, so absolutely fantastic. The next things, I'm not overly keen on their new marine type things, but I understand why some people would really like them. So we've got their corrupted Socrates, or Socrates, getting it wrong, but basically they're chaos type units, and they're all right. Yeah, I could definitely see with some paint on there, and if you could do something really interesting with them, they could look good. I think the thing that always does it with me and they're like marine type units is the shoulder pads. And I know you've got to do something a little bit different so that way you don't get too close to the Games Workshop stuff and, you know, get killed by their legal team. I think it might be, I don't know. There's something slightly off about them. I don't know if it's because they get quite close to Space Marine, but not quite, and it does something weird. But they have their basic Chaos units. They're all modular as well, so you've got all the different weapons, which are pretty fun. And then you've got their, like, Salamanders, which, again, some people were like, I don't know if it's the shoulder pads on these that throw me off. They're really nice. Like, the armor looks really good. All the weapons look really good. There's just something off about the proportions, which I tend to find with pretty much all of their Space Marine type stuff. Everything else looks amazing. I understand why some people would like these. But moving back onto the other good stuff from them, they've got orcs, which is really weird because I'm pretty sure they said they were stopping the orcs quite a while ago because like no one downloaded them, but then they continued to do orcs, and their orcs are fantastic. If you are doing orcs for 40k, Station Forge is your place to be. They always have some really good stuff. So you've got this big old like orc war boss. He looks absolutely amazing. And then you've got all their standard orc units as well, which again, modular. They look fantastic. They really, really look good. Absolutely love them. So yeah, that's Station Forge. Right, next we've got Arc Villain Games and Necrons. I was so close to getting these and printing them, and then I resisted because I've got so many projects in the pipeline that I need to do. But their Necron stuff, it looks really, really good. Like, absolutely amazing. You've got all their standard infantry, you've got the melee infantry, you've got these, like, I don't know, they must be their like troop transports as well, which look amazing. Or their little scarabs, which look fantastic. And then these big old, like, Walker and Command units. And Arc Villain Games make stuff that look absolutely beautiful. And I love this more realistic take on all the different, like, 40k armies. It's really interesting, even if I'm not going to print and paint them. It's really interesting just seeing that take from different sculptors that do something a little bit more realistic rather than, I guess, the more miniaturized style. And these look fantastic. Like I said, I was so close to getting them, but then I have to find the time to actually paint them, which probably isn't going to happen. So that is Arc Villain Games and their Empires of Stars, Timeless Trinity. Right, next we've got, why does my iPad keep defaulting back up? Gammock. And I put Guardsman, Scouts, and Big Demon for this one. So let's have a look. Here we go. So yeah, there's a lot to like with this one as well. So you've got the big old demons, so like big like demon prints you could use it for. You could probably get away with like an Angron type thing as well. It's a really, really nice looking demon. And then you've got all their like, I don't know, their corrupted guardsmen that look fantastic. They look like they're gladiators with some guardsman stuff. They look really, really nice. You can have a lot of fun with those. And then they've got their like Space Marine Scouts. And they look fun. I'm not keen on the heads. That's the only thing that I'm not keen on. everything else looks nice there. They really have like a knight type look to them, so like a Knights of the Old, and I really, really like those. Yeah, very much liking those. I'd probably do some head swaps though, because I'm not overly keen on the heads. Then you've got your Tyranids, and you've also got a whole bunch of tanks as well. So there's a lot there. Again, if you're into sci-fi, Gamut tends to be one to look at because there's a lot of stuff that you get for them. So next up, we've got print minis. I've got Train and Necromunda style. So this one, it's a random one. And again, I think if you're into Necromunda, you could have a lot of fun with it. And there's probably a lot of sci-fi stuff that you could use it with as well. Basically, you get a train and some like tracks, and the train just looks a whole lot of fun. I definitely think you could have it as a really interesting dynamic. Like an objective, you've got to take the train or whatever, steal the carriage. And then you've got a whole bunch of other little minis that can go with it as well. So you can make a couple of little war bands and stuff like that and have a fight over the train and see who basically wins it. Next up, we have a Daka Daka, and I put Impulsor and Sisters. Now, I might be getting the name of the tank wrong here. The levitating tank, the flying tank. I'm pretty sure it's an Impulsor. Like I said, might be getting that wrong. But basically, yeah, it's the grav tank thing for Space Marines, and it looks really, really nice. It's a very well sculpted one. It comes obviously different parts, different turrets, different bits that you can stick on there as well, so you can, I guess, customize it to your heart's content, which is always nice. A lot of the time when you get those, I feel like other people who've done like their takes on the grav tanks tend to look a little bit, well, it tends to look a lot off, in fact. They just, I don't know, they look like a tank that has just got some kind of grav platform on it. It doesn't necessarily look quite right. This one looks really nice. It also comes with some like assault troopers as well, which are very, very close to the Games Workshop style as well. So you've got a few of those as well. I'm not massively keen on them, but they're like Sisters of Battle stuff. Looks really, really nice as well. So you've got all like their Sisters of Battle, all the winged bits as well. Some lovely looking units there. So if you want some of those to proxy and put in your army, you've got a few of them too. Next up, I've got Crippled God Foundry, and we've got Kroot and Arnie. And these just look random. I like them because they look random. Basically, you've got your Kroot units there, so proxies that you could definitely use as Kroot. But they are like Kroot with a twist. Everything is very, very Predator. I mean, the fact is, we've got Arnold Schwarzenegger there. And you've got these bunkers, palm trees, all of this like jungle type terrain as well that will go with it. And then you've got the Kroot style stuff, but they're styled in the style of Predator. So they've got all like the Predator mask and all the dreadlocks and Predator weapons. You've got like obviously the wrist blades, shoulder cannons. It's a clever take. It's basically go, yeah, we're going to do Kroot from 40k and stick them together with Predator and then throw Arnie in there as well. I like it. There's a lot to like with this one. You can have a lot of fun with that, I think. So, yeah, definitely worthwhile checking out. And that's Crippled God Foundry. Next up, we've got Red Makers. And I've got Guardsmen and Gene Stealer Cults. So, yeah, for these, you've got some really nice looking Guardsmen. So, it's their Steel Storm Regiment. There's a lot of metal on there. There's a lot of styling on there. Some beautiful looking sculpts. And if you've got like Guardsmen or anything else like that, these would go really, really nicely. I might sub to these just because obviously I've got my Grimguard army that I've been doing from Station Forge, and I think these would be quite nice alongside it. You've also got these, they're calling the Hiveborn, so Gene Stealer Cults as well. Some really, really nice looking sculpt. And then again, if you want something for like your Mechanicus type stuff, you've got the Omniforge as well. So I guess like your Skitarii type units as well. So some really, really nice bits there. And then we've got Den of Imagination, and they have moved across from doing all their like, I think previously it's been all like their Nurgle stuff, and now they're going across onto squats, which is quite interesting. I'm not a massive fan of the squats, but these do look nice. They've done a really, really good job. So you've got this, the Kazaroth Empire Avalanche Lord with drones. It looks really, really nice. Very well sculpted. And then you've got their little basic, like almost like snow troopers. They kind of look like Santa with rifles, which is kind of a theme. But the thing I really like is these big old mech units here. They look very much like they're ripped straight out of Alien and given some big old guns, like a big old power loader there. Really like the look of those. Not going to print it myself just because I'm not a massive fan of the squats, but I do appreciate what they're doing with these. Then we've got Immaterium God miniatures, and these almost didn't make my list, and I don't know if I like them or not. You guys will have to let me know in the comments. I really like them, and I really dislike them. It depends how I'm feeling at the time when I look at these. They've got these weird bat bikers. So it's all like Chaos Space Marines. And they're an acquired taste. And like I said, sometimes I really like them, and sometimes I really just think, what on earth is going on here? So they've got these big old bats, like bat bikers, these Chaos Space Marines with these bat wings hanging off the end of them. They look so random. I really quite like the Lord on bike. I think he looks fantastic. I think that's a really, really good looking one. The standard units, not too keen on. I don't know if it's the pose. I mean, we've got one on the end here who is like, I don't know. I mean, his balls are so massive that he cannot close his legs, basically. It's just, it is something. And then their tank is, I don't know, it's like a crypt, I'm assuming. So it's like I don't know, a crypt on wheels with guns, which again is interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see their next stuff that comes out for this, just to see how it all goes together, and I guess previous stuff as well that they've got. It's a taste. I think you've got to really, really like that. I think there's some things in there that would look amazing, and some things that probably just don't fit quite as well. Next up, we've got Proxy Brewer, and I've clicked here, I've written down guards with weird masks. Now these look really interesting, and again, for anyone who's doing a guardsman type army, I think they could be really interesting. They're basically your standard style guardsman, but in more of like a Nemesis from Resident Evil style trench coat. And then they've got these really weird like face masks on, which I think it's interesting. It kind of gives it a completely different vibe. So they've got these olden style, almost like, I don't know, like an old Greek type helmet, but without any of the flamboyancy on it. And then these face masks, I think they're really interesting. If you had them as, I don't know, I can imagine almost some, like a squad that went around with Inquisitors, for example, and they wanted to remain anonymous, and they basically did all the dirty work and assassinations and plots and stuff like that. Really nice looking sculpts, and I really like the theme of that mask. I don't know why, but that mask is, it's doing it for me. So that is a Proxy Brewer. And then finally, we've got Nuke World, and I've written down Fallout minis for this one. So if you're into the Fallout tabletop game, this is worthwhile having a look at. Really nice looking sculpts. Let me just find the overview. So here we go. So basically your Fallout type stuff. So you've got their little communication station there that you normally use to get people to come to your settlement, and radio as well. And you've got your little standard units. They've got all just the fun guns and weapons and everything from Fallout. These would fit perfectly with the Fallout tabletop game. Or if you just want to have them as some random units, I don't know, if you want to make a little war band or a kill team or just something different, I think these would look really nice. They all look fantastic. I think very well sculpted. Nice amount of detail on there. They look like they'd print very easily as well, which is always appreciated. So that is a Nuke World, and they're like Fallout bits. So next up, we're moving across onto the D&D bits. And first off, we've got DM Stash, and I put Dwarves and Giant Scorpions for this one. So let's pop it up on screen. So here we go. So these look lovely, like really, really well sculpted. Now, so you're going to get all of your 5e adventure and all the stat blocks and everything else with these, but some really, really, I guess like ultra realistic, beautiful sculpts here. Some lovely looking dwarves here. You've got all the Berserker, you've got this lava elemental salamander guarding all this treasure, which looks amazing. And then these like scorpions as well to go with it. And then this other dwarf here on this giant tarantula. There's a lot here that I really like. And again, whenever I look at the D&D stuff, I always look at it and think, I kind of want to know the story. So if it catches me in that way, and this has, I want to know what's going on here. So definitely worthwhile having a look at. Next up, we've got a White Werewolf Tavern. And the thing that drew me to these was zombie owlbears. And at first, I thought they were like crow people, but nope, I was wrong. They are zombie owlbears, and they look amazing. I definitely want to know why they're zombie owlbears. What's going on in this adventure? So let's pop this up. So yeah, basically you've got all of these like zombie owlbears, which look amazing. All these like goblins as well. Some fantastic looking like hero units. I don't know, we've got a bit of a water theme going on there. We've got like Aquaman. We've got this lady walking across all of this water as well. And then you've got all these like genies. So a lot to like, and I really like their art style. But for me, zombie owlbears, again, it's the whole thing of I've seen something, I want to know more about it. I want to know what's going on. Got this like trickster. There's just a lot here to like, and I think a lot of stuff that looks really detailed, but it doesn't look like it'd be overly complicated to paint as well. It looks like it would be complicated, but not to the extent of like, I know sometimes Arc Villain Games feels like I look at it and go, I have no idea where I'd start with these. With these, I feel like I could navigate. So, really like the look of that. Definitely a lot to like there. So that's White Werewolf Tavern. Next up, we've got Cast and Play, and I've gone for City Guards. And basically this one has a whole bunch of city guards. So you're going to get loads and loads of stuff. And I think they've been on the channel, I don't know if it was last month or the month before, where they had, like, I think it was villagers. And I quite like the fact that with these, you're just getting a load of stuff each month that would fit generically with a lot of adventures. And I like it when that happens because there's a lot of stuff just to be able to do. With these, obviously you've got all the city guards. There's a lot of stuff here going on. You get all the different types of bases as well. They're a little bit on the cartoony side, so some people will like that, some people won't. I really, really like it. There's a lot here to unpack. Some lovely looking knights. You've got this weird hippo guard as well, which is quite interesting. And the other thing as well, it's not just human guards. Like all the city guards here, there's multiple ones. So you've got like cat people, you've got orcs, you've got a hippo person as well. Loads of different races that are part of the guard as well. So that's always quite nice to have. And then they've also got their throwback set as well, which has a whole bunch of stuff in there. So you've got like this big old dragon, some enemies as well, this fighting pit, lots of different bits of terrain, this big old notice board. So there's a lot of stuff there that you'll get as part of this set. Next up is a Dragon Trapper's Lodge, and they've gone for almost something similar to City Guards. Not in that it's City Guards, but something that would fit with a lot of different sort of like adventures. So they've gone for like all the classic monsters for D&D. So if you've got a campaign and you need your enemies and stuff like that, there's a lot here for you. So let's pop that up. So yeah, their set, it basically includes all the stuff you need. So you've got your horses, you've got your bugbears, you've got your goblins, you've got your wolves, you've got all of like your bandits. There's just basically all the main stuff that you're probably going to run into, especially early, lower level type D&D adventures. It's got a sculpt for it. And it's all sculpted in such a way as it's not hugely detailed or complicated. They're all just quite nice. They remind me of a lot of the D&D miniatures that I was originally playing D&D with before I started getting into 3D printing, which given me some nostalgic vibes again. So I really, really like this set. Their other set that they've got, if you subscribe for their different tiers where you get an army instead, it's a big old mouse army as well, which again is quite interesting. Very different to anything else that I would probably normally do. But at the moment with me doing like teaching children how to paint, it might be quite a nice one to kind of print some of those off and give them those to play with as well. So yeah, worthwhile having a look at. And then last on the D&D bit is Fleshcraft Studios. And I've got Killer Birds, and I've completely forgotten what the Killer Birds were. Here we go. So again, with these, you're going to get your adventure. And then you've got these weird bird men and bird ladies. Normally, this probably wouldn't do it for me at all, but I really like the look of these. These are really, really well sculpted, and I think they are just fantastic. There's a lot of detail, like all the swords, the armor, all their poses. I think they're just really interesting. And then you've got like this one big bird here with these like demonic bat type wings. And there's like floating weapons. And again, it's that whole thing of, I'm just really intrigued. What are they? Why are they? And what's this adventure about? It's just a really interesting one. So that's it's the Red Rookery is their adventure. And yeah, that's Fleshcraft Studio. Now, we've got a couple of random ones. So we've got Edge Miniatures again, which I did cover last month. And basically they are doing like Legions Imperialis, Eldar type stuff. Again, same sort of thing again. They are also doing some like 28-32mm models as well. Not as keen on those. They're nice. They're all right, but don't do it for me massively. However, their tiny like 8mm stuff is really good. I ended up subscribing to them last month, and I'll have a couple of shots of the stuff that I printed and painted for them. I really like them. They are really nice little things, and I'm currently building out a big old Legions Imperialis battlefield, so I'll use my classic stuff that I've got from Games Workshop, all my stuff that I painted as Blood Angels, and I'll have a big showdown with all the Eldar stuff that I've printed off from Edge Miniatures as well. So worthwhile, having to play with if you're into that sort of thing and you like that small epic scale stuff. Another epic scale one is KMFP, and they've got some space bike riders. Now, KMFP, kill me for prizes, yes, is the person who originally got me into epic scale stuff because I saw their sculpts when I very first got my first 3D printer, printed some stuff off and loved them. So they've got their orbital knights now on bikes and like jet bikes. These look fantastic. And again, there's loads of other stuff as well, but this is the thing that drew me to this month's set. Really, really like the look of these. And they've got things like orcs and big old stompers, and there's always other stuff that come out from them each month as well. So worthwhile having a look at if you're into that epic scale stuff. Moving across on to terrain. So I've got forbidden prints and I've written rocks. So it sounds really uninteresting, but actually they're quite interesting rocks. At least I think they are. So they're a set of rocks and rock bridges. It sounds awful to try and describe, but you'll hopefully be seeing them on screen, which will add a lot of verticality to your gameplay. And I think this sort of thing is nice to have because sometimes when you're trying to build out your stuff, and this will work with fantasy and sci-fi as well, I guess. Yeah, I need to have some buildings, but then I need to have my buildings have some bridges and bits like that. And they can get quite complicated sometimes trying to think of the layout and everything. With these, you could literally take out a whole bunch of these rocks that you printed out and start dumping them around on the battlefields. And you got ones that you can go up bit by bit, and then you've got all the bridges and stuff like that. You could do something really interesting with these, and it'll give you a lot of play style, a lot of variation. You can mix and match them as well, so you can have them on the outskirts of a city, and then you can have like an objective that you've got to get to. It just gives something different. I think these would be a really nice set to have for pretty much any game type that you're playing. Just throw in there every so often to mix things up. So that is Forbidden Prints and their rock collection. Next up, we've got Infinite Dimensions, and I've put Glassworks for this. So this is a really nice looking building. And again, I'm really into just trying to get some decent buildings at the moment and then just paint them up to a better standard than I normally do. So they've done their Glassworks, and again, a very nice one. You could use this for D&D, you could use it for wargaming or anything like that. It's just a nice looking building. It's a little bit different. It comes with some of the furniture that you can print off inside of it. You've got all the interior play space, interior play space as well. Just a nice looking building. So if you want something that's different just from your standard medieval fantasy style house, you've got one of these extra shops that you could drop in there, which just adds a little bit of flair to your games. Next up, we've got Eons of Battle and A Little Village. So if you wanted to expand your fantasy village, you've got theirs for this month as well. And again, lovely looking sculpts. There's a lot going on here. The renders really, really don't do them justice, but I did see Jay paint them all up on his channel and they looked absolutely fantastic. They're quirky, they're very like fantasy vibes, so might not fit with every type of game that you put together, but I really like these. They look absolutely lovely. And again, if you wanted a few more extra buildings and some that have a little bit more quirky character, worthwhile having a look at. Next up, we've got Sali Factory, and we've got trenches and tree houses. So a really odd combination of stuff. So you've got something really great for sci-fi, and you've got something really good for fantasy as well. So first up, you've got all your trench systems. So basically, trench systems. There's not much more I can say about those. Loads of sandbags, lots of wood, lots of bits for your infantry to run through and defend. Lovely to maybe have on the outskirts of an objective that you've got to try and take, and you can have your, I don't know, your defenders trying to defend it, you're trying to attack it and all of that. Lovely looking bits there. And then for fantasy, they've got all these like treehouse type ones. So these big or like, they kind of look, at first glance, almost like rocky trees, but I don't know. So these trees, they're obviously trees, big trees, and then all these like treehouse platforms and all these like wood bridges and stuff like that going across it. In the renders, oddly, they've got loads of like space marines fighting over it, which I guess if they're fighting Ewoks or something like that. But I think it'd be really nice for like fantasy. Again, adding a lot of verticality to your gameplay and stuff like that. And finally, we've got Gothic Things, 2-story house. So just another random one that I saw on there. I don't think I've covered Gothic Things before, but their September release is just this little 2-story house. And it is what it says on the tin there. Lovely looking house, very well sculpted. Just really like the look of it. So I thought I would throw that in there. And lastly, moving on to the Frontiers and Kickstarters. First one, it's not out as of recording this video, but it will be out, I believe, on the 26th. And it is Grey Tide Studios' Crimson Lords. Now, if you've seen any of my videos, I guess over the past sort of 4-6 weeks, I've done a few on Blood Angels. Not a massive fan of the new Sanguinary Guard. Made my own, really liked it. And I know a lot of other people have been quite interested in finding out more stuff. So this is coming at a really good time. There's a lot of stuff coming out for Blood Angels at the moment. And with the Crimson Lord bits, they're going to have 300 pre-supported bits that you'll be able to print off and make your Blood Angels army unique and your own. I'm really excited for this. The preview they've got on there at the moment looks good. And I can't wait to see what that whole set includes. So definitely one worthwhile having a look at if you're into Blood Angels once that launches. Next up, I've got Old Fort Shield Border, and this is a really nice set. It's not massively expensive, but basically it comes with a castle walls, like all your keep, your gate and everything else. This big old beastie tower that looks absolutely fantastic. This like reinforced like keep as well, which looks really nice. And then you get a couple of buildings as well that you can scatter around. So you get like this larger house here. There's a smaller house as well. I think there's like stables or barracks. Really good looking set. So I guess if you want to expand again your village or something like that, or if you want a different objective, something, it's worth having a look at. So that is the Old Fort Shield Border. Next, quite similar, but different in its own way. So Welcome to Hellwick. This looks really interesting. So again, it's that same sort of vibe in the fact that it's a big village. So you get loads of buildings and they look really nice. They very much remind me of, is it Mordheim? That sort of vibe, but Vermintide. So I loved the Vermintide games and I really want to recreate that sort of vibe on the tabletop. Not necessarily the gameplay, but the buildings and the cities and everything you go through. They've got a really nice theme to them and I want to do something like that. This, it really reminds me so much of all the buildings from Vermintide. They look fantastic. But it's kind of unique in the fact that you can print all the buildings off as you would, that you normally would do. But it has this like tile system that goes underneath it. So it's all layered. So it's weird. Like you've got, I guess, your overground. I don't know why I'm doing it like that. But your overground bit, and then you've got all these like pillars that support it. And then you can take the top of the overground tiles off. And then you have like all the basements to buildings. And then you can remove those bits, and then you have like all the underground bits. So there's like these underground cave systems and everything. I don't necessarily think you would do something like that for tabletop gaming, although you might, because you could have like your Skaven are all coming up from the underground and they're trying to break their way through, which would be really interesting. But for something like D&D, that would be fantastic. That you've got your adventurers going through the city and they've got to try and clear it out. It would almost give you, oh, you could pretty much recreate Vermintide, because then you could have like your 4 adventurers are trying to get from point A to point B. They'd start off in the city and then they've got to try and make their way down into the basements and then find their way into the underground and kill all the rats. Oh, that would be a fun project. So yeah, worthwhile having a look at before I get too carried away. Next one up is the British Space Force. These look amazing. These look really fun. And some of you might have seen the video I recently did where I kind of recapped like my dad kind of doing all the Napoleonic stuff and how he got me into painting. I almost feel like I could print these and bully him. I couldn't bully him, he'd probably beat me up. Convince him to get into sci-fi, because these are all like Napoleonic Grimsguard, yeah, Napoleonic Imperial Guard type stuff. They look amazing. There's so many different things here and they are so well themed. It basically is like someone took Napoleonics and Imperial Guard and slammed them together. Literally perfect for him to get into sci-fi, I'm probably going to back these because they look absolutely fantastic. So that is this month's roundup of all the different bits. So there's loads of stuff there. Let me know, what are you going to be printing or subscribing to or anything else like that. I think I'm definitely going to end up going for the Great Hide Studios stuff because Blood Angels, and it will give me a whole load of stuff that I can already print off. I almost threw my iPad. I already have loads of Blood Angel stuff that I can print, but I really like the look of that already. And they've done some fantastic sets in the past for other, like Space Marine armies, so definitely going to be there for that. The British Space Force is probably going to be one. And I really like the look of that Hellwick one that I was talking about, which is like the multi-layered city. I think that could be an amazingly fun project. So again, let me know in the comments, are there any in there that you'd like me to subscribe to or back on Kickstarter and make a video about? And if I was going to make a video about it, let me know what sort of project you'd like to see. I do like the idea of making like a Vermintide type thing with that. I'm probably going to get carried away with it. I'll take a lot of filament, but it might be worth it. I don't know. So thanks for watching. Hopefully I will see you in the next one. But in the meantime, take care. I'll see you soon. Ta-ra!